All right, this next guy is all excited to be up here already. Tim Payne, who's running for Port of Tacoma.
Well, thank you all. I figured I'd cut some time out. First of all, thank you all for being so polite and listening to all of us. We are all running because we are passionate about this opportunity to turn the tide. And I think you've heard that in every single speech that you've heard so far is let's turn the tide. So let me share a little bit about myself. I'm Tim Payne. I'm running for the Port of Tacoma Port Commissioner position number 1. It's a mouthful, but I need you to remember that. Number 1. The port is the economic engine of our county. And a lot of you, I presume, probably don't know much about the Port or Port Commission. I hear this a lot. People don't know who to vote for. And so they typically vote for the incumbent. But let me tell you about the track record of the port. The port is, first of all, the administration of the port is a phenomenal group. Our executive director of the port, an excellent individual. But there's so much more that the port can be doing. If any of you think that the economy of Tacoma and the economy of Pierce County is doing great, please raise your hand right now because I want to ask you a couple questions. We have an $11 billion economic engine called the Port of Tacoma. It impacts 40,000 jobs directly or indirectly. That sounds impressive. However, over the last 10 years, we've lost cargo market share year over year to Canada primarily, and also to Southern California. We've also lost about 1,000 jobs, according to the port's own economic impact study, over the course of the last 6 to 7 years. Now, I'm a businessman, and in business, when you are losing market share and you are losing employees or jobs, somebody gets fired, and we need to change the status quo. The incumbent in my race first was elected in 1984, then spent 24 years on the court as a judge, and then came back for 2 more terms. This would be his 5th term. And by the way, I said over the course of the last 10 years. So he's been there 8 of those 10 years while we've seen job loss and we've seen market share go down in cargo. Let me explain what that means from a cargo perspective. This is the longshoreman shared with me that each year we lose about 340,000 container traffic to Canada. 340,000 containers. That is 150 sailings, 150 ships that are not coming into our port. Each ship, according to the ILW 23 longshoreman, represents 100 jobs. That's not to take into consideration the economic impact of those jobs on our community. So we need to do something, and I'm asking you tonight to consider me for that role. I'll give you a little bit about my background. I was born into a maritime industry family. My father worked for Crowley Maritime for a number of years, ended his career there after 33 years. I had my first job at 13 in Commencement Bay, working for a marina cleaning sailboats. At 14, I had a 16-year-old friend who could drive, and we started a landscaping business. And we ran that for several years as he borrowed his dad's truck for us to do our work. And at 18, I became an Inland Boatman Union member, and I worked in the Alaskan Arctic for Crowley Maritime. I did that all the way through college and law school. I came out of law school owing nobody a thing other than my father, the gratitude that he gave me to have that pride of respect and working hard. The first 15 years of my career were spent on oil spill cleanups as a project manager and an operations manager, as well as industrial site cleanups. That's important. As I get a little further on here, I want you to remember that. The last 20 years, I've been an executive vice president of an employee-owned company. I sit on the board. I also spent 3 terms on the City Council of Gig Harbor, a nonpartisan position, and of course, this is a nonpartisan position. I was not seeking this office. I was actually contacted by Bruce Danmeyer, who said my opponent was going to retire. And did I know anybody? I looked, I talked to several people, I couldn't gain their interest. And then I sat there and I thought about my own resume, my own background. And even though I'd been out of politics for 8 years, I thought, you know what, this is something I could do. I sat down with my opponent and several other people that were related to, associated with Bruce Dammeier. We had a wonderful conversation. At the end of that conversation, and by the way, I knew my opponent before. At the end of that conversation, I had so impressed him that he said, you know what, I think I'm going to run again. Clearly, I did not impress him. But what he said next is what tipped me over the edge. Before I could say, well, John, I have no interest in running against you, he said, but I'm only going to serve for 3 years. When he said that, a little head nudge inside of me, I'm a trained lawyer, so I don't emote in conversations, but something triggered inside of me, and I thought, how privileged, how elite, how non-democratic that you would run for a position and know that you were going in to only serve 3 years and not 4 years. Now, there's a reason for that. His wife happens to be Pat McCarthy, our state auditor. I know Pat, she's a wonderful person, but you guys can figure it out because her term ends the year before this term would end. I felt that somebody needed to challenge, and so I spent time with the leadership of the port, with the leadership of the Northwest Seaport Alliance, with several of the commissioners, with several of the former commissioners, and with other businesses around the area. And to a T, every single one of them said, Tim, you need to run. And so I made that decision to run. I'm in this to win this. I'm in this to create jobs. I'm in this to create a stronger economy for our children and our grandchildren. I want our children not to have to commute from Elk Prairie to King County for a job. I want Tacoma, Pierce County, to be the economic hub of the Puget Sound 10, 15, and 20 years from now. I have so much I'd love to share with you. I have great ideas that I'd be happy to communicate with you about. I have a palm card that's on the table. I put them in the center so they wouldn't get in your way for dinner. And of course, I do have contribution cards in the back. I've been endorsed, of course, by the Republican Party, all about making our future brighter. And politics does not belong in this race. So I encourage you to please follow me and join me. I've been endorsed by the Tacoma News Tribune over the incumbent, and I've been endorsed by a number of our countywide fire districts as well, and most recently, the Tacoma Pierce County Realtors Association. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Look forward to talking to you.